Every one of you watching this screen, look out.
Anything can happen in the next half hour.
What did I tell you about cartoons?
They've got a lot of brains, and they've got a lot of chutzpah.
Tell me how comic books make you feel, Dave.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
Hello, Frantz Kantor, cartoonist, illustrator, ToonTalker, and I'm here with
Jim Bridges, and I'm the president of the Australian Cartoon Museum.
Yep.
And we're about to delve into
the art of animal character design.
And I'd say this would be a pretty good textbook for the industry.
Yeah, so it's the second edition, which is good because it's got 40 pages of new content. This is forward by Joe Weatherly. I haven't got my glasses. You got your glasses, so you'll have to read it.
It's David Colman.
I can read that. I'm worried about the inside.
Okay.
This is a beautiful cover. It's lovely. The color design on this. So who's doing this? This is put out by David's Doodles.
David's Doodles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Famous for scribbles everywhere. So this is. I was going to buy this book. This is really nice. With
What stopped you? What stopped you?
Life. Well, other books are on the list.
Oh,
first.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Other books.
So, just a little bit of an idea why we're doing this: the art of animal character design. Because animals they form a huge part of animation. They're anthropomorphic. Animals that like Yogi. It's really, probably I would say 60, 70, 80, maybe even 90% of all animation is anthropomorphic of some kind. Certainly evidence in Ice Age to a lot of Disney, most of Disney's films. Mickey Mouse, man. So this is really cool. It's a lovely book.
As opposed to Rodney Rat.
This is an interesting one. This is King Kong. A drawing class. This was a demo done, an animal drawing class at Los Angeles Zoo. So who would do this? This would be done by the person who made the... No, we don't know. I'm not sure, but it's probably the guy that did the introduction.
That guy. Okay, all right.
Him. Yeah. Well, it's uncredited here. So
well, that's no good.
Who that is.
That's practically a criticism of the book. Practically.
So you get a lot of sketches from David's. Looks like David's Colman's journey or sketchbook. Different animals at the Los Angeles Zoo.
It's a nice picture.
Is it David? I don't think it's. Maybe it's not. So tigers are a very interesting character. Obviously Shere Khan comes to mind, but there are tons.
Personally, I think that the horse and the tiger have to be the most beautiful animals on the planet. I mean, every animal has its beauty, but
there's a poem to Tiger, 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 Burning Bright by Blake.
William.
These are lovely. Dogs are beautiful. These are like sketches. These are studies, right? So usually when you're trying to understand something, you'll do a whole bunch of sketches, a study, if you will, of the character, and that includes the pose. There's a beautiful gesture there of the dog, and and also personality. So look at this one. I wish these had better attribution.
Yes.
Down the bottom.
That's a criticism, folks.
Yeah, because, and also to note if they're digital or if they're on paper. So I would say that this is on paper. Probably squeakers and
Because we have to use
and
our
paint, gouache.
we have to use our intelligence.
Yeah, but like Doug in Up, you got that big schnoz, that big
It's
nose.
a big schnoz.
Yeah. So if we go, what's one of my favourite dogs from Secret Life of Pets? It's a beautiful. You can see how, you pick on elements to exaggerate, and that gives your character more personality. Of course, dogs don't naturally have eyebrows.
He's
but
got
you
a
can
question
tell-
above his head.
Yeah, you can tell the anthropomorphic qualities quite clearly. They're very, very expressive. In many ways, because of that ability, they're more expressive than humans. Because in animation, the characters are they're acted or performed by virtue of the animator.
But there's this
These are lovely.
there's
sketches.
this wonderful primitive allure to wild animals. All kids are fascinated, and so are adults.
Two bears hugging.
I mean, when you go to the zoo, it's full of kids and young lovers walking around and families. But everybody concentrates at certain times on specific animals, probably more than they do with most things. And it's
So we learn by sketching.
yes,
When you sketch, the more you sketch, you go to the zoo, you sketch zebras.
Yeah.
You start to learn more about anatomy and about gesture and about story, a little bit about story, because all of these animals have a life. They don't just eat and sleep. They have personalities, and sometimes they're in good moods and bad moods, and you can hear the conflicts sometimes, especially if you walk past the lions. You can hear conflicts in animals' lives.
and before the zoo shuts at 5 o'clock,
Oh, that's
they all
beautiful.
get very aggressive because it's time for meals.
Yeah.
And actually, the sound of the zoo just really revs up.
That's a dog with stripes.
It's a dog with stripes, yeah.
I was thinking maybe it's got light patterns, but no, it's definitely striped. So it's a doggy cat. It's beautiful studies. So before Shere Khan was drawn, of course, there were hundreds of drawings of tigers.
Well, Shere Khan was good, but one of the reasons it was so good is because of George Sanders' voice. It was terrific. Amalgamation of the drawing and the
But you could actually pick,
board, but
you could
beady
pick-
eyes,
Yeah. Well, you could
and
pick
he's-
parts where the actor stopped and the animal took off.
Yeah.
Where the big cat with the tiger was turning around, for example, and you could definitely see the animator in full recognition of it being a tiger. And then, of course, it goes back to the conversational attitudes and acting ability of George Sanders. But actually not George Sanders, it's really the animator doing a impression of George Sanders.
Yeah.
So for many years I was kind of confused about that. I was thinking, well, do they base it on film of the actors? But the actors don't really do much acting other than their voice. So even...
Well, Hans Conrad, who played Captain Hook, they got him in, and they had him sword fighting and doing all sorts of stuff.
for action, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that they use
and
it
also
as a
they
study.
use lots of close-ups, yeah. Well, it's the same thing here.
Yeah, but eventually the animators got to sort of do his impression. So they got to, you have the Frank Gorshin version of Kirk Douglas.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it is. So the good caricatures, animators, character animators, are good impersonators by virtue of the fact that they can
This book
pick up
is
these
heavy on
details.
sketching
Yeah.
of the actual animal and light on the characterisation, I thought.
No, we're seeing a transition. They're just giving you an overview.
Yeah.
We'll get into the meaty stuff in a second.
Yeah.
But you can start to see where, caricature and cartoon starts to draw into the mix. So there's no escaping drawing from life. So you're actually learning a lot about the physics.
Well, it's also
And the
the
anatomy
movement.
and the gestures of the
anybody who
animals.
goes to the zoo and looks at orangutans is absolutely transfixed by the way they move.
If they move, yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I went, they didn't move.
Yeah, but you have to wait. You have to wait. They will move.
I don't like waiting.
No.
It's like reading. I wish there was more information underneath.
I know.
I just find that a bit... So I'm presuming it's David.
That's obviously a Florida bird.
Huh. Yeah. So he's got old man pants pulled up to the waist, above the waist. Very lovely. So, the anthropomorphic process of turning animals into people. What sort of people? Obviously, what comes to mind is the dogs playing cards, painting, the famous painting from the 60s. We just didn't get this one in shot. That's a beautiful gorilla. It's reminiscent of the lighting of Bernie Wrightson. Oh, these are nice. Look at this. There's little, mice and muskrats or something. I guess there would be weasels, all kinds of things. There's a possibility of taking an animal and matching it to a personality. This is what they're doing. So the anthropomorphic process is quite rich in terms of its context. It can really get you, the gesture, the personality of somebody, and even imply a voice. So, as you said, that the pants, a bird from Florida. So you could even imagine the voice or the accent or something, of this old guy from the retirement home in Florida or something. So that's what this is all about. This is, a way of, I guess, trying to invest your ideas, your illustrations with the knowledge of drawing from life, so that you're able to then change direction and change those
look at those look at those legs.
Yeah.
The front leg compared to the back legs.
Yeah, well, everything is caricatured. So caricatures, you're exaggerating the
chest is
proportions.
great. And he called the dog Capone. Capone.
Yeah. So more sketches from life. So this is quite interesting. A lot of them are digital and very, very diverse. So I'm surprised how diverse the subject matter is. Well done.
It's a reference. I mean, you've got to
silly old goose.
You've got to really have a go at it.
Giraffes are lovely, aren't they? Because they've got this sort of
But that's a lovely combination of how they fit in together.
Beautiful shapes in their heads, and of course their heads are accents to the. I didn't notice that. Yeah, that's difficult, isn't it? It's sort of like a compound. Rhinoceroses, trying to find different takes, different impressions. Caricature is also a matter of impression. Like you get impressed by gesture, by personality, by the the big versus small, and the big versus small can also indicate how much that feature is used by that person. So mouths, for example, if you make them very big, they can also be made big because the person talks a lot or smiles a lot, rather than the actual mouth being physically big. It could give you an impression.
Well, there's an impression.
Drawing animals in motion, very valuable. These blurry drawings are very good because they tend to give you a really heightened understanding of shadows. This is a beautiful continuous line, like a scribble line study of a chimpanzee. Chimps have in the wild, they have really beautiful posture and body language. disappears when they're trained pets. So they become, I guess, they lose their familiarity with their culture, with their tribe, or their. I'm using human terms to describe it.
Yeah, but
what is a group of chimps called? What's the collective noun?
A chump, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, when you go to the zoo, it doesn't matter what animal you're looking at, even if it's a bizarre-looking animal, you think of it in human terms.
Of course.
And this is what all this
dog,
is all
you look
about.
at the dog like this, right? Yeah. It's a beautiful study of the back of the dog. Yeah. His mouth's open, he's panting, right? So he's obviously being affected by the heat or the air or whatever, the temperature. But looking at that, you kind of get an impression of he's thinking about something. Of course, he may not be thinking about anything. He may be in complete zen. He may be in a blank state.
That pose is from Lady and the Tramp, and it's updated. I see the tramp there in that pose. Because he was also a caricatured dog.
Wasn't he a bulldog or something? No, he was a
tramp. He was a Bitzer.
Terrier.
No, he was a dog that's I don't know what that is. He was a Heinz 57 varieties.
Okay.
He wasn't.
Still don't know what that
wasn't
means.
A purebred. Mm-hmm. Whereas Lady was. So, Lady is a Cocker Spaniel or something. Yeah.
So these are beautiful little... taking the idea and simplifying it into cartoon. So it's a graphic design sensibility. It's of reducing everything down so that you can get a really good understanding of what's important in a hierarchical fashion in the drawing.
But to get to this...
It's lovely. Dogs talking, fighting...
To get to this... You have to be able to draw the actual animal.
Yeah, well, this is...
this is classic. There's no shortcuts,
it's just exploring. It's just drawing and drawing and drawing again. Yeah. And trying to push the envelope a little bit so that you're getting away from...
But starting off with
just
live drawing.
Realistically...
Drawing live animals.
Yeah. So you're trying to get under the skin of the animal. You're trying to get into the essence of the animal. But from human terms, because we're not animals, so we have to express things from our point of view. No, we're the opposite of animals.
Yeah, but
we're too sophisticated.
We still have animals in us.
Yeah. So he's calling these things warm-ups. These are warm-ups for projects. So that's what these are. There's value in all of these little sketches, all of these little ideas. It could be little gems in a smile, or a continuation of, there's the mouth there. So that jawline indicates like it's a smile.
Without stopping.
Feels like a smile.
Without stopping, he calls them a warm-up. When you perform singing or music or anything, there is a warm-up period. So... In sketching,
you loosen up.
You just start to get...
Well, you loosen up, but you're also not really loosening up. What you're actually doing is informing your sketching, informing your decisions. So you're just making like when you're freehand sketching from your imagination, you've got then the memory of drawing these elements of drawing, skulls and cheekbones and paws and things like that. So there's still that memory of that exercises that you do, the warm-ups are there to inform how you simplify or cartoon the features. That's magnificent. That's lovely. To me, that sort of scoop nose and beady, tiny eyes close set together, that to me is more raccoon than a raccoon.
Yeah.
And this is because I've been brought up, obviously, reading and watching cartoons of raccoons. See, this is... And it's not just me, it's you too, it's everybody. We've all been... see how this eyebrow... up and down. See, there's sort of like a movement. Yeah. There's a gesture within the face itself. There's a gesture.
But this gets back.
That's what you learn from animation.
This gets back to caricature, because a caricature somehow looks better than the photo of the person, or even a painting of that person, the portrait of a person. A caricature gives you more information about that actual person than an official portrait.
Not a portrait, but a photo.
Yeah, a photo, or even a portrait. Because you're
I'm not convinced, but okay. Portraits are a bit scary. That's why I stopped drawing portraits. They're very scary because they're quite confronting. You're getting to know somebody in a very intimate setting.
Isn't it beautiful?
Painting them, usually in life, and it's quite confronting and very distracting as well because growing up, most of my life I spent in illustration. Illustration, you spend your time in isolation, basically.
ISO.
ISO.
As we say in Australia.
Word for today. ISO. So, which is just entered into the dictionary. This is, this looks like Rescues Down Under, doesn't it? Designs for Abbey and Simon, Sandcastle Entertainment. So he's using his knowledge of sketching to invest all of these different possibilities.
Face.
Amazon Studios. So yeah, there's a lot of variety, and even in the technique itself, it's a beautiful, strong shape, very reminiscent of Tarzan, the gorillas in Tarzan. Okay, so these are, this is a beaver. So he's going through he's going through the crowd. He's going through the all-stars of anthropomorphic animals. So there's quite a few. There's a few penguins.
Penguins are big. The last
Bugs Bunny.
Penguins are pretty big in the last 10 years.
15 years ago, wasn't Happy Feet.
Yeah.
But they're more realistic penguins, so I wouldn't really count them.
This looks like it's pinched from Sword in the Stone.
Surf's Up had cartoon
looks like it's pinched from
penguins.
Sword in the Stone.
Yeah, that's a good... Yeah, exactly. That's reminiscent, of course, of the owl.
When Merlin turns himself into a bird.
Yeah, or even before that, the owl itself, his assistant. Very much that. So he's channeling a lot of our best, of our most loved
evil
films.
monkey.
Well, that's a lemur, isn't it?
Yes, I'd say so.
So it's sort of
it's
the ancestors.
It's a
of
leering lemur.
Design needs story. So there's an essay in the book. Design needs story. So the way you choose the shapes, the meaning behind the shapes you choose, it raises, like here, for example, the raise of an eyebrow, the tilt of the pelvis. These things give you a context. So the context of the drawing is telling you what's the story behind them. Now remember, we're talking anthropomorphic animals. We're not talking real animals. So these are animals that are distilled through the human experience. So David's ability to act through these designs is what we're talking about. So it's using an animal language that is both informative of the animal and also informative of the human experience, because animation is a form of communication. It's a
bloody important form of communication.
Here we go. Standing animals. So it's a tricky element to get a four-legged animal up on two legs, because then you've got to change the paw into a usable mitt. Doesn't have to be a hand, but it has to be some form of mitt. So this thumb is very important, and of course, one or two fingers or four fingers at the very least, so that they're able to pick things up, hold things, and do magic tricks.
Hey Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out
play
of the
musical
hat.
instruments.
See, nothing up the sleeve. I'll have to get another hat.
So birds are particularly hard because the wings have to be able to, the feathers have to be able to present as fingers in a way, because you're talking about the human experience. Right, so they have to be able to tell stories.
That's the L Jolson.
In a film,
that's the memory.
Yeah. So in a film, for example, like a Don Bluth film, a beautiful crow in Secret of Nim, at times, or even the great owl in Secret of Nim, at times the feathers become fingers, and then they also have to retain their bird-like appearance,
and also when they point,
give you the ability
like
to fly.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So it's that duality of jumping back and forth, and you have to do it in a smooth way. If it wasn't smooth, then Shere Khan, arguably the best animated animal on screen, as far as I'm concerned, without doubt, he's a joy to watch. George Sanders talk, obviously, but the animation, Milk Carl's animation, was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So personality, expression, anything that you can create, posture, uniqueness, like little
this is a shell project. Obviously sloths aren't actually sloths are in that Zootopia, isn't it? And it's this character Zootopia, yeah, and he goes it's perfectly cast because he's a public servant, and he's waiting to get something done. It's the only time I've seen a sloth actually animated, because it's just too slow. It's just not enough movement in it, These are developments for Blue Sky Studios, or definitely there. So I'm not sure whether which particular film that was for, but you can see the problems with fish, even like prehistoric fish, which I guess this is. You've got things like fish's eyes are on the sides of the head. That's right.
The mouths don't really have expressive elements like cheeks, and the fins are not really articulate enough for hands, but you've got to...
They used to be hands. Have you seen a whale skeleton?
Yeah. So you've got to be able to have that adaptability with the character design. The character design has to tell people that it's a tiger or it's a fish, right? And then the next moment, the fish is telling you his life story. Or is telling you that he's looking for his son.
Well, that's right.
How does that work?
If it starts off, you've got to have.
So you've got to believe it as a fish, and
you've got to
as
make
a father of
You've got to
son.
make that human connection.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's to follow the story? It just doesn't gel.
Yeah, this is beautiful. That's a lovely. I don't know if you can make that out. That's a story. Okay, so a lot of these gestures are stories. Here you can see the giraffe hanging on for dear life.
They have very long tongues.
He's about to fall into the water.
They have very long tongues.
And be eaten by... this is going blurry because I've got this camera set at a certain thing. But you can see that there's, crocodiles waiting for him. And turtles, of course. This is...
you have a lot of fun
magnificent
with
turtles.
Have a lot of fun with these.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Blue Sky Studios again. Turtles...
What did they do?
Ice Age.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So they're lovely. They're really lovely little dogs. Beautiful. So the notes here with this little pup, you know exactly who he is and what the story is playing out. That's because I understood the character and the situation he was in before I started to explore him visually. So, in other words, he's trying to get a handle. He's drawing not just the visual appearance of the animal, but the story behind the animal, motivations, the acting, the scene, perhaps, These are lovely little storyboard notes on how things play out, and this is a way to explore different areas of composition. Composition is a very interesting area for illustration because it comes from graphic design and from fine art and from film. So there's a whole lot of film language involved in composition. You can see this is sort of like almost, I think it's positioned on the golden mean, the golden section. So there's a lot of exploration of personality. Let's see. Skid. So, Oh, the backs of animals. What's so interesting about that? Well, you have to make it interesting. You know, it's finding your
this cat's tail is his character.
Finding the story. Yeah,
its character.
Yeah, yeah. And there's no. I mean, I would have done that little dot there, but you know,
or a question mark with a dot.
Well, yeah, the tail. This looks like Mulan almost. Beautiful. It's a lovely tonal pencil sketch.
What's the name of that animated film about a horse? It's an Indian horse. It's a wild horse, and it goes through a few hands. What's it called? Just trying to remember.
Cimarron?
No, it's not called that. It's the best animated horse I've ever seen. It's just beautiful. You just endlessly.
Oh, there's the
looking
DreamWorks film.
Yeah, just endlessly.
Yeah,
because a horse is a very elegant animal. Beautiful animal with wonderful, lovely lines, especially with motion.
Yeah. So you get a feeling with an animal moving, right, on how these things, how the skin is constructed. That's why this is sort of bones and baggy skin, saggy, baggy skin. And penguins have a beautiful weight distribution, and the center of mass, center of gravity is quite low in their body. And to have that ability to be expressive with the neck, you know, and the flippers and things like that, it's just really well worked out. So exciting. See, even his quick little gesture sketches, understanding how the elephant moves, stands, and the skin, you know, the texture of the skin and the makeup of the skin, you know, the bagginess and stuff. This is obviously more, I think, more DreamWorks, more.
Well, I mean, there and there, the two different.
Blue Sky Studios.
Yeah, different.
Yeah, so different dynamics.
Yeah.
So volume redundancy, a major facet of character design, playing with shapes, exploring behind the avoiding volume redundancy.
You've got to avoid it at all costs.
Well, what he means is the shapes compete with one another to be equidistant from one another in your design. So the overall shape is important. The overall shape is important. So don't have things that don't make sense.
That's why they use silhouettes. You know,
silhouettes is very important to contain the outline information.
That's right.
The profile of the animal, of the character. This is a lovely. This is a lovely decision for a shark. Beautiful. You can see these
monobrow.
Yeah, the what would you call it? The variety. Looking at the opportunity to express these animals in a variety of shape decisions. You know, that makes for a great, interesting design. Like this Brontosaurus here, you know, that's a beautiful, you know, a sinewy design reminiscent of Hirschfeld. So
and look at the feathers. Beautiful.
Yeah, more penguins and there's a, I don't know what that is, a fish with feet. I don't know. Or maybe it's a fish landed on a squashing a thing.
Pufferfish.
Yeah. Versatility. Okay, so versatility. This is a chapter on versatility. You have to understand. You have to read these to understand what their contexts are. So versatility is having the ability to change things around, just on a whim. So instead of having like a big mammoth, big hairy mammoth, you've got a fuzzy mammoth, and you know, look how big his head is. It's almost like big head, small body indicates usually a young animal. But here you've got this almost pin-like tusk. So it's, you know, changing, having the ability to change things up makes it more interesting. So having an eye for versatility is very important. So not just keeping everything always the same answer to the same problem. just keep coming up with radically different answers.
That was one of the things that used to cheese me off about Disney, because if there's an elephant in it, they'll grab the elephant from a previous movie and all that sort of stuff. And
well,
you wanted to
also happens in DreamWorks as well. I'm sure it happens in a lot
because
of
it's
studios.
cheaper.
Yeah,
that page is great, isn't it? Every drawing on that page is great.
Yeah,
look at that frog.
It's just inviting different forms of versatility. Yeah. That could also be, choosing a non-symmetrical.
They're a delight to the eye,
design.
aren't they? Your eye just flows all over it. You know what I mean?
Sphinx cat.
Your eye flows over the drawing. It doesn't sort of run into dead ends or
Yeah, well, the idea of continuous line drawings and lines that have that sort of a ballet of gesture.
We're getting a criticism.
Really interesting. So these are. Don't know what this animal is. It's like a. I'm not quite sure. It could be a squirrel. Either a squirrel or some kind of a.
It's a squirrel.
Something. Well, he's got a tiny tail, so I'm presuming it's a chipmunk. So it could be a chipmunk. It's beautiful. Seeing the variety. That's what I mean by this. The whole idea of variety is the important thing with these character designs. Is just don't have one tool set for an answer. Oh, this is a beautiful leopard reminiscent of Tarzan. Magnificent. It's beautiful.
Like for instance,
and this is
tortoises are supposed to be wise. They're very old, 300, 400 years old, and all that sort of stuff. So the versatility of you could have some crazy Scatman Struthers sort of character, as a tortoise, or even the voice. The voice could be.
Yeah, look at that tortoise. That's cute. Little mischievous tortoise.
Yeah, well, that's a young one.
So you see versatility and variety, even in the colouring and the method, the tools that he used. It's all very interesting, the way that he's put this book together. Pumas and more gorillas. So exploration on different... you'd have to understand I'd have to see this in turnarounds to be able to understand how he's conceived this in a three-dimensional prospect, so that to be able to draw it from any angle. This is lovely, isn't it? It's very comic related.
It also reminds me
of a different brand of icing.
It reminds me of the Dark Crystal.
The Skeksis. So it's good color design, a lot of drama. You can see that the context here, the inference of a scene, of a drama, of a story. That's what characters do. They seem to evoke some level of storytelling that we really connect to as humans, and it goes beyond the Aesop's fables, the allegory part of the animals. It's something that touches us deep inside, and now is so prolific in our lives. From Bugs Bunny to Disney to Mighty Mouse,
an animated character as their face on Facebook. How many people do it?
I'm sure a lot of people do it. Yeah, but sports teams, for example, they have to have animal mascots usually because they're so evocative of human traits, heroic stances and feats of daring do and things like that.
Feats of daring do.
Yeah,
that's a 19.
Unless you're a galah.
That's a 1928 expression.
Yeah, look at how this is how an animator works out these expression sheets.
Scrunches it up.
Well, it's to infer, it's to get ready for dialogue scenes, but it's also emotions, and these are. I mean, you're looking at these in isolation, but of course they're work together as a. This is the violin, and then the body is the tuba or something, and you create basically an orchestration So the whole pose of the whole scene, the whole action of the illustration or the animated film scene is sort of a concert of all of these different instruments that are masterfully used in order to tell a story. So, you have the basic understructure, which is the creation and the solidifying of the volume of these forms, and then the pushing and pulling context of pushing and pulling forms to get something interesting and fun. So, very much like plasticine or clay, So that's how you draw. But these beautiful, these are lovely, they're beautifully evocative and magnificent. They reflect hours and hours of study. These are not studies. These are poses which he's drawn based on what he's understood, what he knows. It's not just knowing.
There's a little
deeply understanding.
He's obviously checked out Heinrich Klay's drawings of chimps too.
Yeah. So it's a matter of it's knowledge that's really deeply founded in
necessary landmarks.
Necessary landmarks are the. It's how you cartoon it. So you've got to know what elements to remove in order to still keep the narrative alive. For example, here's some little visual notes, right, to remind us what works and what is pushed too far. So this is simplified too much. This leg of a deer or something is too simple because it doesn't have enough, angles and things, sharps, curves and straights. Same with this sort of a bear leg. There isn't any anatomical references there, so you obviously need that here.
Well, that could be a lion's paw, but that's better because you can see the.
Yeah, there's more anatomy. So, you have to be able to judge how to simplify something in order to make it still be truthful to what it represents. It's a tricky part. I won't lie to you. It's a very, very tricky part of the process itself. It's beautiful. Okay, abstraction. This is an interesting concept. Abstraction comes from, again, a way of simplifying, but it could be also trying to create a narrative that's based in the physical properties of the drawing itself. So I'll explain that as I go on. You can see, this is pushed into a direction, right? So it's being abstracted into a direction, and the direction has a purpose. He's looking at a butterfly. So he's sort of pushing the drawing into this narrative here. This is another good example of how you simplify the forms, but and then you additionally add texture and things to create a sense of believability. But it all has its grounding in the fact that the caricaturing or the design elements, the simplification process has allowed you to synthesize just the right amount, so you're able to remove just the right amount. A drawing is a piece of clay, and your pencil, paintbrush, or digital apparatus is your chisel that you're able to mold these forms. So yeah, it's a way of thinking, other than you're exploring with a pencil. You're not just sketching. So you're finding things out, and really, to push things into a shape is a really interesting property of drawing, and I use that every day in caricature. I pick a shape and I push the drawing, I push the likeness into that shape. Right or wrong, don't. It's the journey. It's the possibility of actually achieving something that might work. That's the exciting part. This is beautiful. pose. So directional keys for poses are very exciting to see. Now, energy, of course, comes from action and movement. Yes, so movement, but only movement within space. So that's an interesting concept. It makes the figures seem alive, even when they're at rest. Right, the figure is in some kind of a attitude. Beautiful word, attitude. Attitude comes from dance.
It's also
dance
like
is the expression of the body.
Compressed energy, or
well, the compression and relaxation and the flexing and the pushing and the pulling. All of these things are evident not just in extreme action, like these leaps, but also in repose.
Well, even in this drawing, there's not much detail in it, but you can feel the weight and heaviness of that animal.
Well, it's the attitude. It's all attitude. Attitude is another dance term. A lot of drawing, the vocabulary for drawing, a lot of it comes from dance, because knowing how the figure moves in space in a drawing is very much part of the concept of dance. It's beautiful again, So humans and animals are interaction. We're very familiar with these in films. Yeah. So how they work together, girls and big cats like Jasmine, Princess Jasmine, and girls with big dogs and things like that, and
girls with big dragons.
Yeah, girls with dragons. It's sort of the. It's an age-old. That's a beautiful, dramatic. That's an incredibly dramatic drawing. That's beautiful. So see how the white pencil gives you the ability to put shine and also contrast, sort of a halo effect on the toned paper. It's really beautifully sculptural, very sculptural. So you can see there's a gesture going through the whole drawing. And the details, the poses and things form part of that. So again, like dance, it's like a dance movement.
Beauty and the Beast.
So you can see, a relationship, a contrast of characters, contrast of form and textures and things.
That's Frankenstein,
but there's a relationship.
And the little girl with the flower.
Although I can only refer to that because I don't remember it in the book.
Well,
I can only refer to
no, but it's in the film and it's cut out.
It's in the second film.
Yeah, but it's cut out.
Yeah.
It was censored because they thought it was just too shocking.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, this is
it's beautiful, sensitive pencils, evocative of many illustrators like Carter Goodrich.
This is
film illustrators.
Heinrich Clay.
Yeah.
Except the crocks are fatter.
Yeah.
And so are the girls.
You should Google Heinrich Clay. I think you'll get there's again, Heinrich's very interested in ballerinas and dancing and things like that. So he was the inspiration for example, the crocodile and hippopotamuses in Fantasia.
He's also I think he's one of the greatest artists of all time.
We should do a book on
his elasticity.
Creature design.
His line elasticity is extraordinary. It's just like everything is actually charged with electricity.
Mm-hmm. So creatures are, in this context, they're imaginative beasts, like dragons and things like that. But as to make anything realistic, you have to refer back to something that we understand to be true. So these are referencing, other forms of life that we know about. That's how good creatures work. So whatever monsters you create, like the Cthulhu monster has an octopus face and a gorilla body or something like that. So it's elements that we understand, we're familiar with. So it's dealing with the familiar and being able to push that familiarity, which makes good creature design. So it's the familiar and the unease of the way that it's been pushed. Beautiful ideas for mermaids. and centaurs. So again, these sort of combination effects of creatures come from where you have to know both creatures. In order to draw a dragon, you should really draw lizards and frogs and humans and birds and bats and things like that.
The film Legend. He's turned him into a centaur.
So these are lovely little. Well, there's a Pegasus and I think a unicorn landing on looks like a dinosaur of some kind, or a strange. This is beautiful. Look at that. There's a lovely
the shadow
perennial.
The shadow of the bat over it.
It's a trope. It's a very, very beautiful idea of the hunter with a prey that's too big.
The hunter is the hunter.
Suddenly realise he needs. This is that moment in Jaws, where Brody says we're going to need a bigger boat. That's what that is. It's a trope.
But the hunter becomes the hunted.
Yeah, that's what Jaws is. So these are lovely possums, and possums are quite difficult, aren't they? Because they're sort of impossibly cute, and to sort of play with them is a very interesting. I think it's a very interesting concept. Horns as well, and anteater snouts and things like that. So at once they're familiar and they're different, and that's what we need. What creature design? Good creature design has an air of familiarity, so that we believe the creatures. If they're very badly designed, we don't believe them. They're not scary.
That's true. That's true.
So then you have to do a Hitchcock and not show them. If they're very badly designed. Of course, sometimes they're so beautifully designed, like Geiger's Alien, that you're left wanting more at the end of the film.
But you want to see their movement and you don't, because it's too complicated. It's too, and there's too many lines in the drawings.
That's
anyway.
true. That could be an issue as well. So the combination of flowers, flora with the fauna, is another interesting thing. I've always loved what was it? Wayne Barlow did the Animalia not the Animalia. It's another book. He did the zoology, I think, of alien life. What they might look like. It was really exciting, beautiful things.
Great ideas.
And
ideas.
But he mixed flora with fauna, so you get an entirely different chimeric effect.
Hands turning into flowers and stuff like that.
Yeah. So anything's possible. This is what I mean. So there are no rules with character design, with creature design. There are no rules. There is the sort of the hope that the creature will have some kind of a resonance or a familiarity with the reader or with the viewer, and that's what makes it, in my opinion, more successful.
But they also have to walk. They also have to run. They also have their own personal movement.
Well, that is another level of investment into the character design, which is incredibly helpful for going forward in a production. Obviously, you want to know what comes to mind in Dark Crystal, the large walkers, the bat-faced fairy animals that the Gelfling was riding. They're stilt walkers basically, but for stilts. So the actors under the suits had to have their hands on stilts as well, and they developed this gait, this sort of gallop, beautiful gallop, and that was due to the appliances, obviously. But the whole of the thing, Brian Froud designed the characters with the ability to instruct the creature or the prop department on how the creature would move. So that informed them how to make the harnesses and the physicality of the actual thing. Oh, that's a lovely.
Look at that head,
That's a beautiful head looking back.
Yeah.
So a sloth-like and what's that? Anteater-like, and a mix and match of things that create something new. So that's the that's the order of the day for creature design. And of course, it comes when you get something very insectoid as well. You throw something insectoid into it. Insects are so alien to us. Whenever you look at a praying mantis,
a close up,
they look so
even
incredibly
a close up of an ant,
strange,
close up of an ant
alien,
is extraordinary.
because we never really see that world, do we? And it's
a leaf
beautiful.
Plant.
Yeah, it's and drawing from nature like this, drawing from these ideas and applying them in a new fashion, a new way. That's how you get magic. That's how you get this sort of magic in creature design. Weightlifting, more weightlifting, he calls this chapter, and I'm not sure quite what that
He's
means.
going back to basics.
It's to do. It could be about the way to show the effects of gravity.
It's important to work on your fundamentals.
Yes, so solid drawing,
yeah.
And also understanding of things like perspective, the figure in perspective, the animal in perspective, understanding a bit of anatomy and the physics employed in the movement of the animal, and also studying the animal at rest and different animals to see how they cope with shifts in body center of gravity and center of mass, etc., like that, and how they sort of live, because creatures and animals and anthropomorphic animals are all about these lives. You have to have a sense of them being alive, and the more you bring some relevant story into that arena, into the drawing, the more you bring of personality and weight, right? Because everything is affected by gravity, right? And solid drawing and all of these elements that he's sort of mentioned before, it creates something that resonates with us and makes us feel that that's really exciting. And things. This is a beautiful book. It's a really nice book.
So if you were teaching the subject,
yeah,
you'd continually. Would you follow what he's saying? He's talking about don't forget your fundamentals.
Well, okay.
And go back to your fundamentals.
The way I teach, the way I
go back to your fundamentals, where you draw inspiration.
Okay, so
from.
All right, my attitude to fundamentals is anything you learn shouldn't be written, shouldn't be read, it should be experienced. And
that's pretty fundamental. That's pretty fundamental.
Yeah, but the idea of drawing, or getting better at drawing, or getting more imaginative at drawing as well, is it should be always project based, because you learn better by drawing than by any other method.
So when you say
the idea of fundamentals like anatomy and perspective and things like that should always be applied in a project scenario.
What? Because the project comes with...
It's not a shopping list.
No, but it comes with a story, it comes with a philosophy, everything.
Yeah, so the drawings themselves are lessons. So that's, you only learn by drawing. You cannot learn by reading.
Lovely.
And the idea of having things in a step-by-step fashion with a shopping list of fundamentals, like first look at shape, then look at perspective and things, is a little bit inelegant in many ways. Because
so always give them a project, which is basically a.
Well, don't you like learning by accident?
No, but it's a whole universe.
I like learning by accident.
It's a whole universe. If you do by project, it's a whole universe. Well, and you have to take all that whole universe into consideration. Well,
look at this. Scribble, and there's a story. So the scribbles are representing already.
That's the jungle.
A jungle, or it could be a mouth of a cave, or something like that. Yeah. You can see how simply and elegantly he's created a narrative already. Your mind's going berserk, creating the details around this evocative image. Same with this. Why is the donkey sad? these are things. Remember, we project onto animals. That's the idea of anthropomorphic
Projection.
concepts. Yeah. So we're projecting our narratives.
Lovely drawing.
Yeah.
Lovely drawing.
Yeah. Foxes are beautiful. Of course, you finish with a happy elephant in the back. So this is lovely. This is another pay to what's his name? Heinrich Clay.
But look at this. Heinrich Clay would never do that. That's beautiful. That's inspired.
So, davidsdoodles.com, David Colman. If you want to order books or see more of David Colman's work, he's www.davidsdoodles.com. So, thumbs up from me here. David's Doodles, a very good artist. I must admit I haven't seen much of his work before, but I was very interested in this book. And the art of animal character design. You know, it confused me at first because there's so many different styles that David masters. And I'm not saying this, like he attempts to do it. He actually masters it. So there's a lot of invested energy and study in his work.
Knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. And
what he's drawing
a great
about.
sense of story, which is the mark of a really good character designer.
Yeah.
So that's it for me. This is from Frantz, Kantor and
Jim Bridges
saying, "Well,
and be kind to animals."
Be kind to animals. Yes. And ring your mother. You haven't rung her in a long time.
Is that a Jewish joke?
It is, or Catholic. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for the sour persimmons, cousin.